Hello, my friends. I hope you're having an outstanding, fabulous day. I woke up. It's going to be hopefully a gorgeous day here in Maryland. It looks like it might rain, although I'm looking out my window. I'm seeing some blue sky pop up and some white clouds. Thank you for being my friends. Thank you for being my subscribers. Thank you for sharing my videos. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking. And if you have not subscribed, boom, please smash that subscribe. Boom, please smash that like, share my video, and tell your friends. Today's video, I hope you find it interesting. When a friend of mine sent me this story, I didn't even hear it. It's in my local news. A friend of mine sent me this story. Thank you, Venus. And I read it and I was like, what the freak? That's crazy. But I already kind of knew similar things were happening because the Realtor Association put out they have been putting out warning notices for over a year about this. And what am I talking about? This particular incident is squatters. Squatters. What's a squatter? Somebody moves into a property and they ain't supposed to be there. They're just squatting. They're just taking it over just because. So, just recently in Maryland, a seller renovated a house, listed it for sale, got a contract on it, had a buyer. They were going to settlement. And then about a week, 10 days before settlement, he stops by it was vacant. He stops by the property to check on it, and there's people living in it, and the locks are changed. And he calls the police. He calls the Baltimore County Police Department. Baltimore County Police Department comes out there. Baltimore County Police Department talks to the person in the house. Person in the house pulls out a lease. It's a fake lease because it wasn't signed by the owner of the property. Baltimore County Police throw up their hands, say, civil matter, nothing we can do. Even though the police officer and the supervisors and the duty lieutenant and everybody in the law enforcement knows it's a squatter, that it's all fake. The police department will not do anything. And many local jurisdictions, many law enforcement jurisdictions, if not all in Maryland, would be the same way. They make you go to court. So they told this seller who has the squatter in his house, you got to go to court and get him out. Now that could take a long time. I mean, that could take months, even possibly longer because of this complicated situation. And how did this situation arise? So, according to the article, the person living in the house, we're just going to call them squatters. They could have believed this was true, but I don't know. People are stupid. They saw an ad online, some kind of social media posting about, for $7,500, bad credit or whatever, I'll get you into this house. And they had pictures of the house, showing it remodeled and everything. I'll get you in this house and you will have a lease. And so the squatters paid this individual, this company or whatever, $7,500. They signed this lease, even though the person signing the lease on behalf of the owner wasn't really the owner. And then boom, these people are in there. Now you could look at it from the point of view like these people are out $7,500. Yes, but really, it just doesn't sound right. Something's too good to be true. It probably is. So anyway, we have the squatters. We have law enforcement saying, nope. We have a seller who wants to sell his house and he's supposed to settle in 7 to 10 days. Fortunately, according to the article, the buyer of the property said, I'll hang in there. I want the property. So the seller of the property, after many discussions with the squatters, said to the squatter, I'll get you a new place and a new place to rent. And he gave them $3,000. So he had to pay him $3,000 and help them find a new place to rent to get them out of the house, because law enforcement wasn't going to do it. And the court process would never even come close to being done by the time settlement was going to occur. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story is, in Maryland, as a landlord, you got to be careful because Maryland is a tenant-oriented state. There's other states where this would never fly. There's other states, because people have commented in my videos, where law enforcement would be like, we're throwing you out and all your stuff out. As soon as that owner proved that he was the owner, those people would have been gone. That's not Maryland. So in general, the moral of the story is, if you are buying a property, buying land, renting property, you need to make sure that you're dealing with the real owner of the property. There's many ways of doing that, including, besides, use a professional, use a real estate agent to help you. But you could ask for proof of ID. And then you could also double check the land records, the public records. It's all on the computer. And if you say, I don't have a computer, you go to the public library and use a computer and find out who owns property. So you can do due diligence. And why wouldn't you do diligence before you spend $7,500? And if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So as a buyer or renter, do your homework so you don't get schnookered. As a real estate agent, because there's been real estate agents in Maryland who've gotten burned, who have listed properties for rent and for sale for people who aren't the owners because they got tricked. So fortunately, 99.9% of my business is referrals. But when I meet people who are just out of the blue, if people call me up and they want to do something, I do research. And if they're a buyer and they want me to show them properties, I ask for certain things of everybody now. For the past few years, I've been like, all right, I want your pre-approval letter and send me a copy of your ID. And they're like, why? I'm like, because I want to make sure you are who you say you are. And I want to make sure that you really can buy that property. So there's things that I do to everyone. I ask everybody the exact same questions because I want to make sure, one, that I don't make a mistake, and two, that I don't get hurt. Even when I sell big items on Facebook Marketplace, if it is a high dollar item and somebody wants to come out and meet, I ask for ID, and they say, why do you want my ID? I'm like, well, I want to make sure you are who you are, and I'm going to make sure that you're not a criminal. And I say to them, if I have to shoot you and kill you, it'll be easier for the police to identify you if we have an ID in hand. And that's kind of half joking, but you got to be careful who you meet, whether it's Facebook Marketplace, whether it's Craigslist, if they still have Craigslist, or as a realtor or as a buyer or renter. You need to make sure that you're not dealing with a shyster and being taken advantage of. I found that story interesting. I was kind of surprised, but at the same time, not surprised, because I already knew that the police will never do anything. Even if you have proof that the person who's in the house is lying, has a fake lease, the police won't do anything, and you would have to go to court. People ask me, how many rental properties do you own? And I'm like, I do not own any rental properties. They're like, what? I'm like, no. What little money I'm able to save, I put in Vanguard accounts. Because it's a safer investment. And I have good accounts that earn almost 10%, and they're not super risky. Being a property owner, a landlord, is risky. In Maryland, I always use this as an example. You never know when a pandemic is going to hit and the government tells everybody that they don't have to pay rent, because that happened in Maryland. And a lot of people didn't pay rent, and a lot of landlords lost their properties because that rent was paying for the mortgage. So Very interesting story. I found it interesting. I hope you found it interesting. I hope it gives you food for thought if you have any vacant properties to keep an eye on them, because this is happening all over the country, not just crazy Maryland, but in other states. Hopefully you live in a great state if it does happen, that the law enforcement just kicks them out and protects your property. All right, my friends, thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing. If you have not, boom, please smash that subscribe. Boom, please smash that like, share my video, and tell your friends. And until next time, I love you all. See ya. Boom.